They say Jackie Chan is a hero, a legend, a man who conquered Hollywood with his smile and his broken bones. But behind that smile lies a secret so dark, so painful, that Jackie himself refuses to acknowledge it. A daughter he denies, a son he disowned, a wife he betrayed, and a family torn apart by fame, scandal, and unforgivable choices. This is the story Jackie Chan doesn't want you to know. The story of a hidden family that became his greatest shame. Hong Kong, 1999. Jackie Chan was at the peak of his global fame. Rush Hour had made him a household name in America. He was making tens of millions per film. His face was on billboards across the world. Fans worshipped him. Studios fought over him. He was untouchable, invincible, the perfect image of success. But perfection is always a lie. That year, a woman named Elaine Ng held a press conference in Hong Kong. She was a former Miss Asia beauty pageant winner, 23 years old, beautiful, and visibly shaking as she faced the cameras. What she said next would shatter Jackie Chan's carefully constructed image forever. She was pregnant. And the father was Jackie Chan. The media erupted. This wasn't just a scandal. This was a nuclear bomb dropped on Hong Kong's most beloved icon. Jackie was married. He had been married to Joan Lin since 1982. They had a son together, Jaycee Chan. Jackie had spent decades cultivating the image of a family man, a devoted husband, a role model. And now, in one press conference, that image cracked wide open. Jackie's response was cold, calculated, brutal. He didn't deny the affair. He couldn't, but he refused to acknowledge the child. In a statement released through his publicist, Jackie said, "I have committed a mistake that many men in the world commit. I hope my wife and son can forgive me." That was it. No apology to Elaine. No acknowledgement of the baby growing inside her. Just a vague admission of a mistake, as if he had forgotten to pay a parking ticket. Elaine gave birth to a daughter in November 1999. She named her Etta Ng Chalklam, a beautiful baby girl who would grow up knowing her father was one of the most famous men on earth, and that he wanted nothing to do with her. Jackie never visited Elaine in the hospital, never held his daughter, never sent money or support. In interviews over the years, when asked about Etta, Jackie's response has been consistent and chilling. "If she came to my door, I wouldn't let her in." He has said publicly that he made a mistake with Elaine, but that mistake was not his responsibility. The child was not his concern. He had a real family, a legitimate family. Etta was an embarrassment, a reminder of his weakness, and he wanted her erased from his story. Imagine being that child. Growing up knowing your father is a global superstar. Seeing his face on movie posters. Watching him on television, smiling, doing interviews about family values and working hard and never giving up. And knowing that to him, you don't exist. You're not even worthy of acknowledgement. You're a mistake he wishes he could undo. Elaine raised Etta alone. The press hounded them constantly. Photographers followed them to school. Reporters shouted questions at Elaine whenever she left her apartment. The Hong Kong media was merciless, treating Elaine as a homewrecker, a gold digger, a woman who had trapped Jackie Chan with a pregnancy. The truth was more complicated. Jackie and Elaine had a relationship. It wasn't a one-night stand. They had been seeing each other for months. But when the pregnancy happened, Jackie panicked. His career was everything. His image was everything. And a scandal like this could destroy everything. So he chose his career over his daughter. He chose his reputation over his responsibility. He chose silence over acknowledgement. But the damage to his marriage was done. Joan Lin, Jackie's wife, was humiliated. The affair was public. The whole world knew her husband had cheated and fathered a child with another woman. But Joan didn't leave. She stayed. Not out of love, but out of practicality. Divorce would have been even more scandalous. It would have given the media more ammunition. So she endured. She stayed married to a man who had betrayed her in the most public way possible. Their son, Jaycee, was 17 when the scandal broke. Old enough to understand what his father had done. Old enough to see the media circus. Old enough to realize his family was a lie. The perfect Chan family was a performance for the cameras. Behind closed doors, there was resentment, anger, and a father who was rarely home. Jaycee threw himself into work. He made film after film. Rush Hour 2, The Tuxedo, Shanghai Nights, The Medallion. Around the world in 80 days. He worked constantly, perhaps trying to outrun his guilt, or perhaps because work was easier than facing his family. He rarely saw Jaycee. When they did spend time together, it was strained, awkward. Jaycee later admitted in his autobiography that he was a terrible father, that he prioritized his career over his son, that he was absent for most of Jaycee's childhood. But at least he acknowledged Jaycee. At least Jaycee had a father, even if that father was emotionally distant and physically absent. Etta had nothing. As Etta grew older, she struggled. She struggled with her identity, with her place in the world, with the knowledge that her father had rejected her. Elaine tried her best, but single motherhood in the shadow of scandal was nearly impossible. The media never let them forget who Etta's father was. Every birthday, every school event, every milestone was accompanied by the question, "Has Jaycee reached out yet?" The answer was always no. In 2015, when Etta was 16 years old, she came out as a lesbian. She posted about it on social media, a brave declaration of identity in a society that was still largely conservative about LGBTQ issues. The Hong Kong media pounced. "Jaycee's secret daughter comes out," the headline screamed. Once again, Etta's personal life was turned into a spectacle, not because of anything she had done, but because of who her father was. Jaycee's response? Silence. He didn't support her. He didn't defend her. He didn't acknowledge her existence. His silence spoke volumes. To him, Etta was still a mistake. And now, a mistake that was even more embarrassing. But the real tragedy was still to come. In 2017, Etta and her girlfriend, Andy Autumn, posted a video on YouTube claiming they were homeless. They said they had been sleeping under a bridge in Hong Kong, that they had no money, no support, and nowhere to go. Etta looked exhausted, broken. She spoke directly to the camera and said, "We've gone to the police. We've gone to the hospitals. We've gone to the LGBTQ community shelters, and all of them just don't give a shit. They just tell us to go somewhere else." The video went viral. The world watched Jaycee's daughter, homeless and desperate, begging for help while her father lived in a mansion worth millions. The contrast was obscene. Jaycee, the man who preached about hard work and family values, had a daughter sleeping under a bridge. Jaycee's response? He released a statement through his publicist saying he and Elaine had provided financial support to Etta over the years, and that Etta's situation was due to her own choices. He implied that she was being irresponsible, that she was seeking attention, that he had done his duty. The statement was clinical, cold. It lacked any empathy or concern for a young woman in crisis. Public opinion turned against Jaycee. Finally, after years of silence, people started asking the uncomfortable questions. How could Jaycee, a man who built his career on being likable and relatable, abandon his own daughter? How could he let her be homeless while he lived in luxury? How could he preach about family in interviews while treating Etta like she didn't exist? Jaycee's defenders argued that Elaine had chosen to have the baby, that Jaycee wasn't obligated to support a child from an affair, that he had his real family to think about. But these arguments rang hollow. A child is a child. Etta didn't choose to be born. She didn't choose to have Jaycee as a father. She was an innocent victim of adult decisions. But Jaycee's family problems didn't end with Etta. His relationship with Jaycee, his legitimate son, was also falling apart. Jaycee had grown up in his father's shadow. He tried to follow in Jaycee's footsteps, becoming an actor and singer. But he was constantly compared to his father. Every film was judged against Jaycee's filmography. Every performance was measured against Jaycee's charisma. Jaycee could never escape the weight of his father's legacy. And the pressure crushed him. In August 2014, Jaycee was arrested in Beijing for marijuana possession. Police found 100 grams of marijuana in his apartment. He was detained, tried, and sentenced to 6 months in prison. The scandal was massive. Jackie Chan, who had been appointed as an anti-drug ambassador by the Chinese government, had a son who was a drug offender. The irony was devastating. Jackie's response to Jaycee's arrest was shockingly cold. He released a public statement saying, "I feel ashamed and sad. As a public figure, I'm very ashamed. As a father, I'm heartbroken. Jaycee has done something wrong, and he should be responsible for his actions. If he has to go to jail, then he has to go to jail. I will not use my power or contacts to interfere with the law." Read that again. Jackie publicly declared that he would not help his son. He threw Jaycee to the wolves. Yes, Jaycee had broken the law. Yes, he needed to face consequences. But Jackie's statement wasn't about accountability. It was about protecting his own image. He wanted the world to know that he was a good citizen, a law-abiding celebrity, someone who wouldn't use his influence corruptly. He sacrificed his son's dignity to preserve his own reputation. Jaycee served his 6 months in prison. When he was released, he held a tearful press conference where he apologized to the public, to the Chinese government, and to his father. He said, "I have brought great shame to my family and my country. I deserve to be punished. I hope people can forgive me." He looked broken, defeated, a young man crushed by the weight of his father's disappointment and the public's judgment. Jackie attended the press conference but said little. He stood behind Jaycee, stone-faced, as his son sobbed and apologized. There was no hug, no comforting words. Just a father watching his son humiliate himself for the world's entertainment. After Jaycee's release, their relationship deteriorated even further. In interviews, Jackie has been brutally honest about his feelings toward Jaycee. He has said that he was too lenient as a father, that he spoiled Jaycee, that Jaycee's arrest was a result of his own parenting failures. But instead of trying to repair the relationship, Jackie doubled down. He announced publicly that he would not leave his fortune to Jaycee. In a 2018 interview, Jackie said, "If he is capable, he can make his own money. If he is not, then he will just be wasting my money." He declared that when he dies, his entire fortune, estimated at over $400 million, would be donated to charity. Jaycee would inherit nothing. The message was clear. Jaycee had failed him. And failure was unforgivable. Think about what this means. Jackie Chan, a man who came from nothing, who was abandoned by his own parents, who fought his way out of poverty through sheer determination, decided to punish his son by cutting him out of his will. The cycle of abandonment continued. Jackie's parents had abandoned him. Now Jackie was abandoning his children. Etta would get nothing because Jackie never acknowledged her as his daughter. Jaycee would get nothing because Jackie deemed him unworthy. Both of Jackie's children rejected. Both treated as failures. Both paying the price for Jackie's impossible standards and desperate need for public approval. Joan Lin, Jackie's wife, has remained silent through all of this. She rarely gives interviews. She avoids the spotlight. She has endured decades of humiliation, betrayal, and family dysfunction. Some see her as a victim. Others see her as an enabler, someone who stayed for financial security and social status. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Today, Jackie Chan is in his 70s. His body is broken from decades of stunts. His hearing is damaged. His spine is deteriorating. He can barely walk without pain. He has everything money can buy and nothing that truly matters. He has no relationship with Etta. His relationship with Jaycee is distant and cold. His marriage is a formality. He is surrounded by wealth and utterly alone. In rare moments of vulnerability, Jackie has admitted regret. In his autobiography, he wrote about his affair with Elaine, saying, I couldn't control myself. I made a big mistake, but regret without action is meaningless. He regrets the affair, but he still won't acknowledge Etta. He regrets being a bad father, but he still cut Jaycee out of his will. Jackie Chan built a career on being likable, on being the underdog who never gave up, on being the everyman hero who always got back up. But in real life, he gave up on his own children. He abandoned them when they needed him most. He chose his image over his humanity. And that choice will define his legacy far more than any stunt he ever performed. So the next time you see Jackie Chan on screen, smiling and performing impossible feats, remember this: behind that smile is a man who couldn't perform the simplest feat of all, being a father. Behind that hero is a man who abandoned a daughter and disowned a son. Behind that legend is a human being who failed in the most fundamental way. The secret life of Jackie Chan isn't hidden in some distant scandal. It's hiding in plain sight. In the daughter who bears his DNA but not his name. In the son who bears his name but not his love. In the family that exists only as a painful reminder that fame and fortune mean nothing if you lose your humanity in the pursuit of them. This is the story Jackie Chan doesn't want you to know, but it's the story that matters most. Because it's the truth.